People are saying that a punishment has been confirmed and what is going on with this. We also have Suga being taken off several TV networks and what's going on with that, as well as people scared that the BTS reunion might be in jeopardy. So that means it's Dave decided, let's get into it. So this is all kind of just one topic, so I'm going to talk about them in order as it appears on the title. I kind of usually just jumble it around, but this will be in order. But if you're not aware, a network reported on Suga's DUI situation incorrectly and then later had to apologize. A lot of people were very upset because they didn't know the full facts or the full situation, and since they didn't know, why were they reporting on it falsely? This not only makes their network look less credible, but it also puts the artist in question because a lot of the facts were misconstrued and it was being spread around with a lot of criticism. And now those things will forever follow him. This of course is JTBC, and now they're receiving punishment from, it's believed to be the broadcasting officials of Korea. Keep in mind, this is a rumor, but there has been this rumor now floating around that the government is going to be taking action on JTBC. Now, what will actually happen, we have no idea, and I can't really say whether it's going to happen or not, but I think that a news site, specifically one where people get a lot of their information from, should definitely be thinking twice about some of the stuff that they're reporting on. As far as I'm aware of, they're not a journalism site or a news site that gets their news from other people. For example, they're not a site that will just see what the headlines are talking about and then recap, review, and just kind of regurgitate those things, but on their site, similar to what I do, similar to what a lot of YouTubers do. But if you're on a site that goes out on their own, gets photos, does investigative journalism, then you definitely have to be careful about what you're putting out, because other sites and other people are then getting their information from you and then regurgitating that. So there's a lot of responsibility in what you do, especially as a big media site, because then when other smaller yet still big media sites then take their information from you, that would be bad. I would expect that a country like Korea, who is a little bit more conservative and one that definitely tries to be more conservative with their media and their broadcasting, would not be happy about this idea that a media site that may or may not know the full story was reporting on it as if they did. And so even if there isn't punishment, which in America I don't think there would be huge punishments because they did come out and apologize, but I don't know what the laws are in Korea, and if there is punishment, I think that's fair. And I think it also sets an example for some of these other media sites to make sure that they double check a lot of the stuff that they do. And I think it's really bad that not only is this happening, but apparently Suga is getting a lot of punishment too that seems a little bit unjust, because to me it's quite insane that if this news article is fake and the news site is not getting punished, but then Suga is, that would be insanely unfair. Because the only reason Suga is getting punished or attacked so brutally from the public is because of some of the false information that's out there. And recently there has been some belief or some allegations that he has been blocked by MBC or TVN. These are two of the biggest stations in Korea, and of course if they're doing this, it's because they feel like if they were to put Suga on TV and put his face on, it would generate a lot of controversy. There was an episode where the host talked about being friends with Astro's Eunwoo, as well as the host relationship with BTS. Of course, as this is being talked about, the TV station or TV show decides to show images, I think, of who the host is talking about. So as there are flashing BTS images, they are using an image with only 6 of the boys. This was of course at the time when Suga had to get his surgery, and so he wasn't in a lot of the pictures. And so when they used a moment from this moment to depict BTS, this of course made the community really upset, and it made a lot of people trend BTS is 7 because they feel like the networks are purposely excluding him based off of this scandal. And truth be told, a lot of artists have done much worse and still have not been taken off the air in a similar way. So a lot of these punishments definitely feel a bit unjust. Now, if this was the only time this happened, I think it wouldn't be a big deal, but it would be more directed towards just that show. But it seems to happen again on TVN. Now, someone was featured on a show, and it was someone who was famous for like clothing design, specifically of the very traditional hanbok outfit, which I think is more of a cultural, maybe religious thing. I'm not entirely sure what it means, but it's definitely more of a cultural outfit. Now, of course, as they're talking about it, they're going to show it, and they're going to show moments in which his designs and his clothing were featured on TV. And of course, they show none other than BTS members wearing it. Now, they did show Suga wearing it, but they actually blurred out his face. And this was probably the more obvious attempt at censoring him. People were definitely not happy. I mean, this is definitely kind of rude. I feel like at the very least, to just avoid controversy, maybe just don't show him. Like crop someone else wearing it and then just show them. But to me, this seems almost like a blatant attempt at saying, we don't like Suga. It's one thing to be upset when someone creates any sort of controversy or does something not great, but it's another thing when people like shunning him even after he's apologized and things have been essentially settled. At this point, he is accepting his punishment. He's doing whatever he needs to do to reprimand the situation. There really shouldn't be punishment like this, where it's almost like TV networks and stations trying to erase everything that he's done, and that is definitely unacceptable. I don't like that at all. There definitely are thoughts that this could continue and this trend could keep going, and potentially a lot of other stations might choose to censor Suga in this way, and I would definitely be very sad if that were to happen. Now, a lot of other people going on this think that the label might start to take action after seeing sort of the reaction. And the thing is, a lot of TV networks don't even bother doing something like this unless they feel like it's a big enough deal to do this. If they feel like by putting this person's face on TV, it's going to cause a lot of people to call in and complain, it's going to cause a lot of parents to get upset, so then there's definitely fear that it could translate over to other things and potentially the label could try to drop him, or he might be taken away from the BTS reunion because they feel like if he's in it, it would make the boys look bad. I don't know. But this is a genuine fear that people have. And I see why this is a fear that they have, because it makes sense that the label could do that. But we need to talk about this for a second and really break this down. The likelihood of a label dropping their biggest act, someone like Suga, is very low. And even if they do, it's very possible that another label will soon very quickly come and snatch Suga up. So before you know it, he'll be back at it again. He would just essentially maybe be a solo artist or would then have to be in collaboration with Hype. But that gets so messy, and I think at this point that probably wouldn't happen. Now, what I see that actually could happen is that the label and the boys might just take a swift break from the spotlight and that stuff. They might just not have the reunion right away if they feel like the waters are still rough. If they feel like there's still a lot of criticism, they might just choose to wait it out a little bit longer. Now, when artists choose to wait, it's not that people forget or that they just don't care anymore. They still care. They just move on to other things. Then typically what happens is the artist comes out, they might address the controversy, they might talk about it a little bit, but they'll talk about it in a way that's a little bit lighter than what actually happened. And since most people don't remember what actually happened because it was a long time ago, then they'll just be like, oh yeah, that did happen, but oh yeah, that doesn't sound like it was that bad. And the bottom line is people are too lazy to Google and look things up, so they'll just kind of rely on their memory. And it being at a distance makes it seem less than what it was. And the thing is, it really wasn't that bad. It was just what the media was saying and what all the news sites were saying that made it appear worse. Now, it'll be quite some time before the BTS reunion will even happen because all the members still need to return. So at that point, I think the controversy would have been fully blown over and no one would really be talking about it anymore. So I'm definitely looking forward to that day, and I'm looking forward to people kind of getting over this. It seems to be progressively getting worse. I would have never imagined that these networks would be attempting to censor him or try to blur him out. I think that that is extremely bad. It really goes to show you that these corporations don't care and that things like fame and relevance and all that stuff is ever fleeting, because apparently it doesn't matter how many ratings the boys have brought to the networks. The networks will just love them, but the moment something bad happens, they'll leave, and that's the messed up part, right? And I think that that should be something that we talk about. I think people deserve a second chance, and only in entertainment, when you mess up, even for smaller things, do you lose your entire livelihood. Everything that he's built for the last 10 years gets taken away over something that happened for a few minutes. Let me know what you think. Make sure you check out Patreon for more videos. A link down below. Thanks to this lovely comment right here. Love you, bye.